Hello Teaquilters, I'm here with a brand new, to me, exciting striped wallet. It's a machine embroidery design by Sweet Pea and I am loving it. It has replaced the wallet that I used to use from Atkinson. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, come join me over on my long arm table. I'm here, and I guess it's only fair to start with my used to be favorite wallet, which is the Atkinson wallet. And I have made modifications to this wallet over the years and have made it to where it was my favorite for quite a long time. I added the Velcro closures here and stitched around them. I made sure that I top stitched my pockets. I also made sure that I interfaced everything. I do know that sometimes when we're using interfacing, things get thick, and so sometimes some steps like that are missed, and she could have updated this pattern by now. I had the original wallet pattern if she has updated it, but this wallet does have 3 pockets, 2, 3, and what I liked about them was that even in each pocket it was wide enough that you could put multiple items into the pockets. And then this top pocket had an opening, and I don't know if you can see that, but the top pocket has an opening that you could put coins in, so that technically was a 4th pocket in a way. And then when you closed your wallet, the coins wouldn't fall out, and I never had a problem with the coins falling out. The one thing was I had to end up getting a separate little coin wallet because the coins would get so thick that I couldn't close it very well. It was so thick it wouldn't close on the side. I put a lot into these wallets, so that's why I thought it was only fair that I show you this wallet. This is just a regular, using a regular sewing machine, stitched out wallet, not digitized in the hoop on an embroidery machine. So the wallet that I made a couple years ago, this was my test wallet, and I never just got back to making it. I wanted to start with this wallet because it shows you how it's originally pieced. You have different steps for a placement line. Then you put 2 fabrics right sides together. You stitch your 1/4 inch seam. Then you flip that fabric over, and then it will stitch the sides down. And it took 3 steps for each one of these fabrics for a total of 18 steps. So I'm trying to figure out how can I do this where I am saving steps. So that's really what this tutorial is about. How to make this Sweet Pea striped wallet. And you can make it in a 5x7 hoop, a 6x10, and an 8x12. This wallet here is 5x7 hoop. But I actually make it in my 8x8 hoop, or you could also use a 6x10 hoop. I find that I need the extra room for all the stuff because the layers get really thick, and I felt like my 5x7 hoop didn't give me enough room on my Baby Locky Lissimo. So if you got a different machine, you can try it out. I just needed more room. I felt like it was just too tight in the hoop. So this is the first wallet that I made. I'm using snaps as well, and what I really like about this wallet is that it has a zippered area that I can use for my coins now. And I also put my bills in here, and then if I have any coins, I put those on top. So I do like the zip feature. It only has 2 pockets. It's a little bit just slightly bigger than the Atkinson wallet made up. But what that does is that it makes it so that these two pockets can hold quite a bit of items. And I'll show you with one field. So let me show you that one next. This one here is when I started to make some modifications because of all the different steps. I made this again for my mom, used all the steps, and I'll put a picture up where I've made one for my niece, one for my daughter, and then I also made this one. And what I did was I used 3 strips, and I kind of shortened this strip because I wanted to make sure that when I put my name label on the front, which was also something that I didn't do on my test one, that I had room. But I just want to show you how much document is in this wallet in these two pockets. In the front pocket, I tend to put all the things that I use more on a daily basis, and then in the back pocket I put like photos. Got my little Jersey girl in here, so I put photos, my car insurance, my health insurance cards, dental insurance cards, any punch cards I get from people, anything that I need is in here. And then also sometimes if I don't want to take all of my bills out of here and I know I'm going into a store really quick, I might just slap a 20 right here so that I'm not having to go on the inside of the zipper. But on the zipper, I do have my bills in here. You can also put business cards in here if you hand out business cards, and then it just snaps shut. And then the specialty on this particular wallet was the fact that I was able to, since I'm piecing my own fabric prior to getting to the hoop, not piecing in the hoop, then I'm able to get fabric like this. So I'm going to show you the modifications that you need to make. If you buy this design from Sweet Pea Embroideries, you can buy it online and download it, the instructions, or in a PDF format. And you just download those. They're the pictorial is very detailed in the pictorials. Over here I have marked down what the size of each wallet is. I like the smaller wallets because I can put them in my pocket, my back pocket, my front pocket, in my hoodie pocket when I'm going into the store. This wallet finishes at approximately, because they could be like some 1/8 of an inch off, it's like 5 inches by 3.5 inches. And then I only did one size up because I'm only really interested in the smaller wallet because I do want to be able to put it in my pocket. So I have made one of the ones made for your 6x10 hoop, and this wallet finishes 6 inches by 5 inches, so it's dramatically bigger than the previous wallet, quite a bit. And I don't think that this will fit in your pocket. The other thing about making the larger size, and I don't have the snaps on these yet, is that the pockets, you put your items in the opposite direction. Let me see if I can find something to show you what I mean. Instead of your pictures, your wallet or your cards going in this way, you're going to have to turn everything to put them into the pockets. However, on this size you do get 3 pockets, and then when you stitch down the center, you're now having 6 pockets. So it is very good for that, you know, getting you more pockets so you have more areas to sort into. I do like that. I just don't like the size of the finished wallet for the purpose that I'm making it for. So let's start with items that you're going to need to make the wallet. Again, I'm doing mine's a little bit different. They're telling you to cut rectangles in a particular size to make the 6-piece wallet, like this one. Like this one. And one other thing I want to say is that this wallet is 2 years old. I just washed it and switched out to my other one because I'm going to be keeping this. And the only wear I have is right here where, and I can't get it into the camera. Wait a minute. The only wear that I have is right here in this rounded edge corner. But And I think that's the white is the batting that's underneath showing. So we're going to talk about how I made my wallets and how I make them different. They're going to tell you to cut fabric for the smaller 6 rectangles that you need. But what I did was just iron some scraps that I had, and then whatever width they tell you to cut for the particular size, I cut all of my fabrics into widths. So that was the first thing that I did. I didn't care if they were all the same size, different sizes. I actually wanted different sizes, as you can see. All I did was just cut these into particular widths according to what the width was on the pattern, because that stays consistent for all of your cutting. So then when I did that, I ended up with various pieces of fabrics. And then what I did was, so these are just extras from me cutting. So what I did with all the pieces is that I just sewed them all together by the widths. So I had them all going together in widths, and then I just chopped off the lengths of what I needed. So these are just random fronts. They're not made to be symmetrical. They're just made to utilize my fabric pieces. And then these are going to be my fronts. Now for mine, I pieced mine in this finished size of this cut piece here, which they're not going to tell you, is that you need to have it be the size of your batting, which is 7 by 9. Now in the small size, I found that they used more fabric than you needed, but then I cut it small for the one that was in the 6 by 10 hoop and the medium size, and then my fabric just barely fit. So you have to be really careful with that. For me, I cut all of these lengths 1 inch shorter on the small pouch. I do not recommend that though if you're doing it on the larger pouch. So once I do that, I measure up 2 1/4 from the bottom, and then I put my branding label, which you see here. This is with me placing it 2.5 inches up, 2 1/4 inch from the bottom after I've cut it 1 inch shorter. So I've cut this piece, I cut this piece 7 by 8.5. I'm sorry, so it's a 1/2 inch shorter. 7 by 8.5. They tell you to cut the batting 7 by 9, which we'll get there later. But when I did that, then I placed my label on. I'm going to show you one here where it's flat. 2 1/4 from the bottom, and I put the bottom of my label in that spot. Okay. So all I did was went through and cut out all the pieces that I need for a particular bag. So this is also some extra pieces that I have left, all back fronts. These are some of the pockets here. I just have the pockets. Another thing that I did to the pockets, which they don't tell you to do, is that I did interface these pockets. And I interfaced these pockets to give them a little bit more stability. And also because I'm going to be putting a snap through the pocket. And then once I interface, I made sure I top stitched on top of the pockets, because they don't, if you don't do it now before you start sewing, you're not going to be able to do it later. And they're just going to be straight on the top, like, let me get my original one that has no top stitching. So this one has no top stitching on the pockets at all across the top. So I like to have reinforced stitching. This one also does not have interfacing on the inside. It has not torn or done anything. I'm just doing it because if this wallet lasts 2 years, me using it every day, I feel if I do a little bit more work that it will last even longer than that. And it's still lasting because I'm going to this when I wash my other ones. So I did those extra steps. So then once I had all of my pieces cut out, I made stacks. I started with my front piece, and I cut 5 out at one time. And this is the 5th one here. but I sewed this one so that I could show you how just a scrappy wallet looks. Got a scrappy thread there. So this is the front outside cover of my wallet, and this is the inside cover of my wallet. And then you also have a different piece of fabric that's inside of the wallet as well. Two different fabrics. So what I did was just put my outside cover piece down, and then I started laying out the pieces. I tried to make sure that these two fabrics matched the inside of the wallet, and one time it did not. It's not critical, but if you're just using scraps, this is a great way to use up your scraps. And then I just went on each pile and put down the pieces that I needed to complete the block. I think this is the block here. Let me move it down. This is the block here where the two inside pieces didn't match. These are my pockets. This is my zipper pocket lining, and then this is my cover. I also, once I got everything done, I clipped everything together. Then I went back and just pulled zippers for everything. So I've got everything clipped and zipped together for my fabrics, and I know what goes with what. And let's see, this is the 5th one, and I haven't done the snaps on this pocket yet. All right. Next, other things that you're going to need to complete this is that what I haven't shown you is that you're going to need interfacing if you want to use it. I used it on my pocket pieces, so I used it on these two pieces, and I also used it on my zipper pocket, the small part of the zipper pocket. So you have two pieces of fabric that makes the base inside of your wallet, and I put it on the smaller piece of fabric that you cut. You're going to have one piece that's larger over here. You're going to have one piece that's smaller. You want to put it on the smaller side. And you do not have to top stitch this one, because as it's top stitching it to the zipper, you can see where I have stitching there. So I just like to interface anything that's going to be a stress point in a wallet. So that's what I did. All right. The other thing you're going to need is some batting. I use my scrap batting. There were times, and I just don't have any here, where I used the step zigzag stitch on my sewing machine and sewed these items together. So I was just using scrap batting. So long as I didn't want to sew more than one seam, so as long as it was, for this small wallet, it needed to be 7 inches wide. So as long as I had 7 inches wide, when I put the two pieces together, that was fine. I didn't want to do like 1-inch pieces. I didn't want to do that. So I got a stack of batting ready to go with my projects as well. Other things you're going to need is 2 different types of stabilizer for machine embroidery. And here I have tearaway stabilizer. You're going to do this in 2 hoopings. On your first hoop, you're going to use tearaway stabilizer. On your second hoop, you're going to use cutaway stabilizer. So you need 2 different kinds. This project again is made in 2 hoopings. And then you're also going to need some masking tape and some pins, because there are going to be times you want to use masking tape, and then there are going to be times that you want to use pins. So we got all the introductions out of the way, I think. So I think it's now time for us to hoop a piece of stabilizer. So this first hooping, I am going to start with my tearaway stabilizer. You're always going to start your first hooping with tearaway. Alright, so again, I've made a lot of modifications to this. I also made modifications to the actual digitizing file, which I'm not going to share, but I will tell you what I've done. So let me go to my computer and show you what I've done. Okay, I'm in a software program that's called Custom Works. It's by Designer Gallery. I don't even think that they sell this anymore because it's very, very old, but it's sufficient for my needs and what I needed to do with this particular program. So that's why I'm showing it to you. The main reason I'm showing this to you is that my screen just changed. It should not do that. The reason that I'm showing you this is because I want to show you what the stitch out file looks like, and then I want to show you the steps and then what I changed in the next file. So this is the first file that you're going to stitch out on your machine. There are no modifications to this file, but I just have what is called up here a run button. So if you can see my mouse up here at the upper portion to the right of my machine, you've got this color bar. Each one of those colors represents a stop. And so I want to just run this so I can show you what it does, and then I'm going to pause it so that I can tell you what it's doing. So first step, it's going to stitch out a box for the zipper and then a line in the middle. This box or this rectangle is where you're going to place your, hold on. Let me go back. Let's pause this. Okay, so let's start over. So we're going to stitch out color A, and then I'm going to pause. So I'm going to go over here and stitch this out, and then I'm going to be ready to pause this once it's finished with A. Okay, so step A is going to stitch out something that looks like this. You're going to use a standard size zipper. This is not the time to use your designer zippers. You want to use just a regular dressmaker zipper. And I like that because it keeps your wallet thin as well. And so this line is going to be the outside edge of your zipper. This line is going to be the outside edge of your zipper. This middle line is your zipper teeth. And that's what you're going to place face up on your stabilizer. So this is stitching out a placement line for you to put this onto the screen, and I'm going to show you this as I stitch it out as well, but I want to show you what it's doing here before I get to my machine. So now we're going to go ahead and do this black stitch out next. So I'm going to tell it to stitch. It's now stitching down the sides. Once you place your zipper down, you then are going to stitch that zipper down onto the fabric, so, or onto the actual stabilizer actually. And then after that, you're going to place your fabric on each side of this sewn line. I think on color number 3, it's going to have you put your fabric down on top of this placement line that it just stitched for the zipper. And then it's going to use the next step I'm going to show you, and it's going to stitch on top of the fabric in the same spot. And then after that, it's doing a triple stitch to make sure that that fabric is really secured. And you can tell the difference in the stitches. Hold on. It's going way further than I wanted to, so I'm going to bring it back. All right. So it was doing the triple stitch to make sure that it's really secured down onto the fabric. Then we're going to do our next stitch, which is going to stitch the entire box around the outside of your wallet, a rectangle. But before you do this stitch, you need to make sure that you pull this zipper pull in, and we're going to talk about that as we're embroidering, but I just want to make sure you hear that twice. So it's just going to stitch a rectangle. It's stitching down all the fabric pieces that you have placed on the outside of that zipper. And then I'm going to back up because it's already going to the next stitch. And then after it has done that, it's going to, you're going to take your hoop out of your machine, and you're going to put the inside pocket piece on the underside of your hoop, right side facing your stabilizer. So then once you do that, this next stitch stitches out, and it's going to tack that fabric down. So once you stitch this fabric down, the next stitch is going to stitch a placement line for you to put your pocket. So the next thing we want to do is stitch a placement line for your pockets because your zipper has been already attached down here. So we're going to do that next. It's just going to be a straight line from this edge of the hoop over to here. Alright, so then once it does that placement line, you're going to put the top folded edge of your back pocket, your largest pocket, right here. And then you're going to place your next pocket a 1/2 inch down. So you're going to place all of your pockets, no matter how many of them you have, 2 or 3, you're going to place them all at the same time. After you place those pockets, you're going to have to secure them some kind of way, and we're going to talk about that or show you that. And then you're going to stitch out this last step, which is going to be securing these pockets along this sides. And you will not go back across this way because you will stitch your pocket shut and we don't want that. So this is file number 1 that's stitched out on your Teraboy stabilizer. I don't change anything here. This file stays as it is. I want to show you the file for part 2. That's where the changes happen that I switched out. This is where it is showing you how to stitch these 6 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're stitching these 6 segments, and I didn't want to do that in the hoop. For each one of those, you end up with a placement line, a tack down line, and then a fold over tack down. And that was 3 steps for each one of those, and I did not want to do that. And when I got through with all of those steps to piece this unit together, which was 18 steps, the 19th, which was how many? It was 17 steps to do this. And so the 18th step was to stitch around the outside. So I want to show you that. Right here is the 19th step. I'm going to just move it so you can see it come down here. So I'm going to hit play so you can see it stitch. It's going to go slightly inside of all your previous lines and stitch a placement line, and it's sewing your front piece to your back. So really this second one is really, once you piece in the hoop, you're actually just putting your front piece and your back piece together. Well, since my front piece is already pieced, I didn't need these previous 17 steps. So what I did was I made a different file. I used a combination of part 1 and part 2. In part 1, we had this rectangle that stitched out, this outer rectangle that stitched out when it went around the outer edge to tack down our inner wallet that we put our pockets on and that we made our zipper pocket on. So I wanted to use this in my file. So I put both of these files, part 1 and part 2, into one file, and then I took out what I didn't need, and then I renamed the file so I would still have the original file intact. So I put this rectangle in here twice, once to tack down the batting, and then the second time to tack down my front cover. And I just center my front cover in the hoop. On my hoop, I have side centering marks. I put a little fold in my fabric, and I know exactly where to put it so that it's centered in the hoop. You do want to make sure this fabric is centered. So let me stitch out just those 2 rectangles for you. This first rectangle is stitching down my batting that I've just laid in the frame, and then it's going to continue, and now I place my fabric and it's stitching my fabric down at this point. Okay, and then the only last 2 steps was the last 2 steps of the second part of the file that had 19 steps in it. You just need to stitch those last 2 steps, and what those last 2 steps are going to do is stitch and leave an opening going around the outer edge. However, it's going to stitch slightly on the inside, and it's going to curve your corners as it's doing it, and then it's going to leave an opening for you to turn your wallet inside out. So let's go and sew that. It's going to do one time to make sure it's correct, and then the second time it's going to do that triple stitch, which is going to make sure your wallet is securely stitched in place. It's going to back up, and now it's doing the triple stitch. So that is what I actually did with this pattern. That's what I changed in this pattern, because all I needed, I went from 19 steps down to just 4 steps in my second file by me sewing my pieces at my sewing machine, mass cutting. I cut all of my fabrics all at one time, didn't care what was going with what, and then as I got them cut, after I got everything cut, just putting them out. So now that we have our tearaway stabilizer attached, we can now go to the embroidery machine and start embroidering. I'm here at my machine, and I do want to point out that the instructions are step by step. They go by numbers. Like step 1 is actually your stitch to zipper placement line, is telling you when you're supposed to be stitching and all of that, and it is very detailed all the way through to the book. Remember that when I get to hooping number 2, which right here is stating for the next hoop, that I have changed this design. So you're going to have to make sure that you go into your PDF, print it if you're going to do more than one. The first time I did it, I just used the PDF on my laptop because it's about 20 pages. Let's see how many pages it is. I can't remember. Yeah, it's 19 pages for the completed PDF. So just make sure that you know that you are following their directions step by step. As you can see, I wrote notes down that I needed for things that I was changing, especially because I didn't piece these, I didn't cut these 6 pieces. I made it just 1 piece. I also put the sizes of the wallet in my book because they didn't have the sizes of the wallet. So your small wallet is 5 by 3.5. Your medium wallet is 6 by 5 inches, and your large wallet is 7 by 5 and 8/75, so 7 by 6. Okay, so just round up. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to stitch a placement line for the zipper. We're going to put our zipper teeth face up with the zipper pull face up onto this line, and we're going to be using masking tape to do so. So I'll be right back. All right, so I'm working, and I'm not going to be able to show you everything because I'm recording with one hand, but I wanted to show you that the placement lines are stitched in gold thread, and then I've lined up this side here. I just want to make sure that this is not going to be in my stitching area or your zipper stop, and then I want to make sure that my zipper pull is all the way outside of my hoop or outside of my stitching area. You could use a zipper as small as 6 inches, but I would recommend one just a little bit longer so you can really make sure that your zipper pull is out of the way until you need to pull it in. And then what I do is I make sure that my zipper is, my edges are aligned right here, and then I just use masking tape to tape that down. I tape down this one side so that I could do that with the other side with you guys, and then I also put one in the middle. Now it is going to stitch over this masking tape, and that's going to be okay. There are going to be times that I wanted to stitch over the masking tape as well. When I'm going down the sides, I want to make sure that my hopper foot is not going to get caught in the hoop. You don't want that to get caught. It's going to be a nightmare. So make sure, I'll let you know when it's appropriate to tape where you're going to be stitching on the sidelines. Right now I'm not stitching on any sidelines because all this stitching is here and here. The rest of it is going to be jump stitches. So I'll go ahead and stitch that, and I'll be right back. So now you can see where it's stitched. I showed you in the video. And now all I'm going to do is pull up this thread. Because I stitched across this masking tape, this is going to tear. You're not going to be able to use it as a long piece anymore. I will be able to use them on the back when I go to put my inside of my zipper pocket down. So what I do is I just put these on my machine temporarily until I get to that step. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove our side piece masking tape. But we're going to be using it, so I'm just going to stick it up here on my frame for right now. Take this piece off. And then I'm going to place my pocket fabrics on here. Let me get those and then I'll be right back. Normally I try to make these two pieces match. And this just happened to be the one where I didn't have enough fabric to make these two pieces match. It doesn't really matter in a scrappy wallet. So I'm just proceeding forward. What I did do is you have two pieces of fabric that are folded in half. And then also this one is a larger one. It's much larger than the other one. And so your larger one is going to go at the top up here of your hoop. And the smaller one is going to go on the bottom. Now for this bottom one, it's going to end up being your zipper pocket here. And so what I did was I just put on some scrap interfacing that I had. This one, do not top stitch, because when I place this over this line, you see this stitching line here. I want to make sure that I've got my fabric centered on these stitching lines, and then I'm just going to pull this up and just sit it close to the zipper, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one right here. Center right over the zipper. My zipper pull is all the way out here. It's not on the fabric. So make sure that your zipper pull is not in here. I have enough room that I'm not going to run into the stop, because it's going to stop stitching right here. So I'm okay with where the stop is. And then I'm going to take my tape that I put up at the top, and this time I'm going to see where my lines are, and I want to put my tape in that area. I want to actually tape this down now. So I'm trying to slide this back up. I scooted it a little bit. It's hard to do while I'm trying to record and hold the camera, because I have nowhere to put it here. All right. So right here, I'm going to put the tape and just guess where I need to be. And then I'm going to come over here, pull back, and I'm going to put tape somewhere in here. Pull that piece of tape and go right here. And I'm hoping that when I stitch across this, that when it's stitching my zipper, it's going to come across this line, especially in the next step that I'm going to do. So I want to make sure that it's stitched on this masking tape so that it's not going to pull this fabric back when it's coming across. So let me put this back on the frame and I'll show you as it's stitching. This is our stitch out number 3. See, I wanted to make sure I had tape there so when it came across my zipper, it didn't pull my fabric up. So this is just a single stitch that it has stitched. Now that everything is okay, it's easier for you to take out a single stitch if you make a mistake, if your fabric got moved. So it's giving you a chance to make any corrections. I don't need to do anything but hit my button. I'm going to pull my thread if I can get a hold of it to make it a little longer. I'm just going to restitch, and what it's going to do now is triple stitch this so it's really secure to that zipper. And that's what I like about this pattern, is that it makes sure that everything is secure. Once I pull this off, I'll trim any of my thread tails. This is step number 4. Okay. We're now ready to do stitch number 5, which is going to stitch a rectangle all the way around this. It is very important, very critical. It tells you in the instructions that you now need to move your zipper pull to the center of the hoop. So I'm going to sit this camera right here, get a hold of my zipper. I'm gonna have to take my tape off first. So let's do that. And my tape is gonna tear around my stitches, which is what it does. Making sure I get all the little tape off of here. And if I can't get it now, I can always do it later, but I try to get it off before any more stitching happens on it. Okay. We're going to take our zipper pull and open up this zipper into the center of our frame. All right, we're going to need to put tape back on here. So I'm using that same piece of tape, and we are now ready to, I just put the feet dogs down. I just lowered the presser foot with that noise, and now what we're going to do is stitch a rectangle around again, making sure that your zipper pull is in. If you don't get the zipper pull in, you're going to have 1/4 of an inch to see if you can get a zipper pull on after the fact. So please don't forget this step. I'm going to go ahead and hit the start button. Very important to have tape on here, and my piece is nice and flat. I pressed everything so it doesn't generally move when it's stitching. So let me get you a different angle. If I see anything moving, I'll just use my hand to smooth and get out of the way before it gets there. And now it's coming back around to here. So that's step number 5. I'm going to remove the hoop, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to clip any of my thread tails that are hanging. I'm also going to go ahead, since this has been stitched, I'm going to trim off this excess zipper because I no longer need it. So I'm going to trim this down so it's not flopping on the outside of my frame anymore. And then I'm going to turn this piece over, and we are going to attach our inside pocket face, right side facing the inner facing, so wrong side up. And I'm using batik, so it doesn't matter, but that's why I'm trying to make sure that you all know that you want wrong side up, that you can see wrong side, right side to the stabilizer, because that's going to be the right side on the inside of your pocket. Okay, so let me get this on here and I'll show you what it looks like. So right here I have trimmed, over here I have trimmed those thread tails that I had, and then over here I have also trimmed my zipper down. So now I have nothing that's outside of my frame that's going to interfere with any of the additional stitching that I have left. Also on the back of my frame, I do have a piece of fabric that has a wrong side, because remember I told you I piece scraps I pieced all of this. I'm using whatever in the inside of a pocket. It's okay for it to have scraps in there as well. So this is my wrong side facing up. My right side is touching the interfacing. And then I just put a little dab of tape that I recycled from the previous step, and I had to cut one more piece to add because I had 3 pieces. You're going to now place this back on your embroidery hoop. Make sure you do not adjust or get this fabric caught. And what it's going to do is stitch a rectangle all the way around to attach this to the underside. I will show you as it stitch out. So here we're on the hoop. I'm going to go ahead and put my presser foot down and go ahead and hit my start button. And it's going to stitch a rectangle in this area. Notice that I left my tape on because it's going to be stitching across these sections again, and I just don't want anything to get caught. And you notice that my tape got knocked over a little bit. It's not a big deal because the tape isn't permanent. So we're okay. Don't worry about it if it stitches in place and the tape got moved a little bit. Next thing that it's going to stitch, and I don't have to unhoop at this point, is a placement line for my pocket. So I'm just going to put my presser foot down, hit my start button, and it's going to give me a placement line for my pockets. For my pocket pieces, you need 2 pockets. One is larger than the other, and when all is said and done, they are a 1/2 inch separating the 2 sizes. So before I go to my embroidery machine though, I did use some stabilizer, some interfacing on my pocket pieces because they're going to be getting a lot of use with your credit cards and things like that going in and out. Plus I'm going to be putting a snap on this front pocket, so that's something that is going to be adding additional wear and tear. And I just went ahead and did it to my back pocket as well. So they tell you to place these pockets a 1/2 inch down from the top. All you really got to do is just sit these pockets so that the bottoms line up if you've cut them to the size that they tell you, and you're automatically going to get 1/2 inch at the top. Oh, and also notice, now that I'm showing you this, that I did top stitch across the top of this. So I'm gonna take these 2 pieces. I don't have to do anything to them. One time I did stitch down the sides to secure this, and I found that when it's stitched in the frame on the 6x5, the middle wallet, the medium sized wallet, that it kind of moved a little bit. So I didn't do it on these. I didn't stitch them down. So all I'm going to do is I have this placement line that it just stitched right here. It's not focusing. This placement line right here. And I'm going to put these pieces right on that placement line, the top pocket on there, centered on the frame. And I'm going to get some tape, and I'm going to put a piece of tape here and a piece of tape over here where it's so that it doesn't pull up and get caught in my hopper foot here. So let me do that. And now all I got to do is and stitch around the outside. Step number 7 was stitching that placement line, and then this last step, step number 8, is going to be stitching down the sides on these pockets across the bottom and then back up this other side. It will not stitch in the middle because then you wouldn't have access to the pockets. So I'm going to hit the start button. So you will see a slight pause here because I had to stop my machine because my battery on my camera ran out. So here we go. I'm pressing the start button. It just did like mostly tacking stitches here. So let's go. the last step for part 1. And that's it. Now I can take this part out of the hoop. Another tip on this pattern, what I tend to do when I have 2-part stitching designs and I have to do rehoopings, I tend to stitch all of this part on all of my bags at one time, and then I go back and do all of my part 2s at one time. Or I will set up 2 different embroidery machines. I'll have part 1 on one machine and then I'll do part 2 on a second machine. But for today, I'm just going to go ahead and continue with this. We're going to unhoop this. So here on my machine, I have finished sewing step 1, which had 8 steps. In your step 2, you're going to have 20 steps actually, because 20 keeps the hoop from going back into the center, which I don't have on my modified version. If you don't have the modified version or don't know how to make a modified version, keep this frame up, this system up here, and then go into where you can select what thread you want to stitch, like what color. I want to go to number 5, so let's just go to 5. And then you just tell it to stitch 5 of 8. And I don't know if you can see where you can see this is the rectangle. This is the rectangle that I pulled out of this file into my second made up file. And I stitched this twice, so I put this same file in there twice. Once I'm going to stitch down my batting. The second time I am going to stitch down my fabric. And I want to make sure that they were done separately, because I just put the batting down, place it in the frame anywhere, just centered, eyeball centered. And then when I put my outside cover piece on, I want to make sure that that center line is centered with the frame centering line. So I'll show you that when I get there. But I wanted to show you how you can do this my way without having to modify the file. You just need to keep this file open. You're going to stitch step 5 twice. So I already have my hoop on here. I have eyeballed my batting into the center of the frame, and I'm just going to put my hoop down and press start, and it's going to stitch that line for me. And I'm actually doing this in step 5. I'm actually showing you how you would do this if you didn't have the modified version. I'm actually going to pull it up. But we'll just talk about it since we're here. Trying to make sure my batting stays as flat as possible. Now, I'm going to trim my batting to the stitching line before I put my outer cover fabric on. So I'm going to do that. So I had some issues with the record, and it was recording and just cut off. So I just want to go back and show you all what I just did. Remember on the screen we did step 5 to get the rectangle to do our batting. What I had to do was go down here and go back a color stop, and I hit the minus button, made it go back to step number 5 so that I could show you all how to do this if you don't have my modified file. So that's why I'm kind of glad that this happened, because now I know that you all can do this my way without having to have a modified file. So we're going to go ahead and open up the original part 2 document so I can show you how we're going to finish this off. So it has done all the stitching all the way around. I'm hoping that nothing is missing in this video. If it is, I'll have to put up a black screen with some words. All right, so I'm going to not take this out of the hoop. What we're now going to do is take this piece here. We want the pockets. Oh, this did move. Look, this scooched up a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and leave it though, but my pocket moved a little bit. You can see where it's a 1/2 inch right here from the top, and right here it's about 3/8 of an inch, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. But when you put these two pieces right side together in your hoop, you have these corner outlines from those rectangles. I'm going to take pins and stick through all four corners, and then I'm going to take a 5th pin and start pinning these things down. We don't want, you could use tape. I find pins with all of these layers is a lot better for me, but you can do whatever you want. And I'm going to try to get you all in the frame a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I've got 4 pins right now. I go into the corner of the rectangle on my top piece, go into the rectangle on the piece that's in the hoop. Do not unhoop this. You will never get this to stitch out. You'll have to finish it on your sewing machine. So do not unhoop. Alright, so I just put the pin in the corner and pulled it all the way down. I'm going to do the same thing up here at the top. Pin in the corner, go through into the corner back here. And these pins are holding pins, and I put them all the way in so that it's got something to hold them. I'm going to flip around so you can see me do this other side. I put all 4 corners in before I pin anything down, just to make sure nothing is, I don't have to adjust anything. Pin in, pull it to the back, and then we've got this last one here. Pin in the corner. I may have to lift up so I can see. Go into the corner, put the pin down. Alright, so then I take a 5th pin, and what I do is I just pin all of these layers on the outside of where this is going to stitch, like that. Hopefully you can see that pin right here. Take this pin that's stuck in the corner out, turn my frame, and do the same thing over here. Making sure I put this pin where it's not going to do any stitching. Take this pin out, rotate around, do this side, take this pin out, and my last pin is going in, and I just take this pin and put it back in the pin cushion. So now it's pinned down, ready to be stitched. So now we're getting ready to stitch these pieces together in the hoop, and what it's going to do is it's going to start stitching here, go up around the corner, come back down, around. Okay, so it's going to go up about an inch from the corner. It's going to start, go around, come down, and then it's going to round this corner and then go up some, and then it's going to stop. And what it's going to do is it's going to do a back attach here and here, and it's going to leave a part of this open so that you can turn your wallet inside out. And it's also going to stitch just slightly inside of these stitching lines. So what I want to do, because it's going to be stitching all the way around, it's going to do it twice. It's going to be 2 different steps. I'm going to put some tape here and here so that this doesn't get stuck. I'm going to put tape over here and over here. So let's do that, so we don't have to worry about that. And I'm also going to put a little piece on my seam because I pieced this. You normally don't need this, but I'm doing this because I had to piece my inside to get enough big enough piece of fabric. So I'm going to put that in here as well. Okay, so now let's get this back on the frame and do our final stitching. So on our screen, we're still in file number 1. Now we got to go to file number 2. So I'm just going to go pull up my file number 2. And I want to get file number 2. I'm going to go ahead and get that second file for the cover. And as you can see, when I set this in here, get it ready for sewing, we're going to have 20 steps. And this is where you're going to have to do some modifications. We're going to go to the color where you can tell it what color you want to stitch. So up here we're at 0 of 20. We want to go to 17. Is it's 18. We want to do only 18 and 19. That's all we want to stitch is 18 and 19. So I'm going to hit this plus button to get to, I think I could have just went -2, but I'm just going to make it where you all can understand what's going on. I want number 18 is what I'm looking for. So now we're at number 18. And you can see in the picture diagram here where it's going to stitch this part out and leave an opening. So technically it's not even going to go over this piece of tape, but I got it here, it's secure. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. I really needed the tape on this side. We're going to stitch number 18, which is going to be a single stitch around like you would on your sewing machine. Then stitch number 19 is going to be your triple stitch to make sure it's secure. So we're all ready. I can just put my hopper foot down. It's going to jump over and start, I think, up here. It's going to start up here. So let me go ahead and hit that. And notice that my pins are not in the way of the stitching. The tape might get caught in the stitching at some point. It's not a problem if it does. And then I will show you on when I get it what it's doing. And it's also rounding those corners, so now I don't have to worry about pointed corners. It's going to tack stitch. It's going to stop here. It's not going to do the triple stitch until I'm telling it that everything is okay. I'm just going to pull my thread tail a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and hit this down button for my presser foot. And I want to show you over here on the screen that we're now on stitch number 19. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and hit start stop, and it's going to do the triple stitch because everything is fine, so I wanted to stitch out. And I love that they are triple stitching the outside. It is very secure. As I said, I had a wallet that I've been using for 2 years and nothing has come apart on that outer edge. I have like a pin dot where my batting is coming through. Something must have got caught on my wallet, but that's it. Now, one thing that I did forget to tell you, because I'm not doing this step, is that if you were going to use a loop closure with a button, then you would have put a loop in here, and the instructions tell you that you would have put a loop in here. But since I'm using snaps, I skipped that step. So if you're using a loop, like some elastic cording or something like that, that you're going to loop around a buttonhole, then you most definitely want to put that in here before you stitch this down, before you stitch stitch number 18. Okay, and on the screen it's now telling you stitch number 20. There is no stitch number 20. Number 20 is just so that your hopper foot doesn't come down and get caught in this piece of fabric here. I've been trimming this down because I found out it doesn't need to be as big as they have it up here, so I've been trimming it down to like a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to pull off my tape, take out my pins, take everything out of the hoop, and then I'm going to let you see that as I do it. done so far is just take my pins out, and now I'm just going to go and trim everything up with the outside last seam line. This is a way that I'm saving stabilizer. I just cut off a piece of a hunk of it, and then I just clip it so that it's not all flopping around. And then I also go and cut this top part off next, and then I will step zigzag stitch these back together into longer pieces. So I'm trying to throw away the least amount of stabilizer possible. Next step is to trim this. You could trim all the way around with a 1/4 inch seam. I do leave where my opening is just a little bit bigger. I want to make sure you see where it rounded the corners here. All right, here's my piece trimmed. I did forget to cut this a little bit bigger, so it's just at a 1/4 inch opening here. I forgot to cut it like 3/8 of an inch. You don't have to, but I just tend to like to do it that way. But so let's go ahead and turn this opening right side out. So next thing we need to do is open up our zipper pocket. We need to remove the stabilizer that's inside of our zipper pocket. Get it apart. This is tearaway stabilizer. Otherwise you won't be able to use the zipper pocket. And I just want to clip this little thread back in here. That's holding that stabilizer to the seam. And then you should have one over here as well. Okay, that one came off. And then we also have a piece of tearaway that's further down in here. We need to get that out as well. So it's going along the side and bottom seam line. So it should just tear right on out of there. If you've got any thread you need to get out, you can just cut it. Most times it just comes right on out. And then make sure that we got our corners back out again. They're doing pretty good. Go ahead and zip that up to get that zipper to the other side. Get all of your any remaining thread tails you didn't get a chance to get. Go ahead and take care of all of those. And we're now going to take a heated iron. And I've got a little bit of masking tape showing here, so I need to get that out. So look for that as well. I want to remove as much of that as I can. All of it if possible. All right. And then we got a piece right here. All right. So the next step is we're going to press this. So I've got my iron right here. I'm going to just press this little flat. Be careful about pressing on your plastic zipper. I don't really press on the zipper. I'm just pressing the fabric and right up to the zipper. And then I press it from both sides. And I have to watch my label. I don't want to iron leather. Alright. And I'm getting all kind of strings from my pressing mat. Alright. So then once we do that, I want to make sure everything in this corner is out. It still looks a little suspect. So let's go back in here. I just want to make sure everything is fine here. Alright. So now what I do is I fold in. You're going to have a stitching line here. And I fold in just a little bit past that, because remember that it's stitched further in on the line than before. So I'm going to go ahead and use clips. I find that if I let this stay clipped for about 10-15 minutes, that it makes its own memory. And then I don't have to press this in, and I know it's going to be perfect. And I only take the pins out as I'm stitching it. Now, unfortunately, this is hand stitch closed, and I'm not going to show you that step here. That's why I made the other wallet, because that takes a little longer to do than what's necessary for a video. But we're just poking everything in and stitching it a little bit more. I mean, folding it in just a little bit beyond that last stitching line we saw. And then we're just clipping it, and I let this sit. Okay, I just let this sit, and then once I hand sew this closed, I then fold it in half and press with an iron so I know where half is. And here I also have a little thread tail hanging. I'm going to use a thread burner to get rid of that thread tail, so I'll take care of that too. But let me go get the other wallet so I can show you our final steps. So here I am with the two pouches that I made that I showed you earlier, but they did not have snaps on them. So I am going to actually put snap on this small one for you so you can see the final step being done that I use. If you had just put drawstring in here, you would have had a drawstring out of here, and then when you close this, you would have a button closure right here that you'd wrap your drawstring around. But I opted not to do that step. So I'm going to open my pocket up so that I can do the next step on this. On the larger wallets, the 6x10 hoop and the 8x12 hoop, you need, I think, 2 snaps. I would put one over here and one over there. That's what I'm going to do on this one. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at doing your snaps. So I have a 12mm snap set that I've had for years. I bought 2 of these. I bought 2 in the smaller size, which is what we're going to use, 12mm. And then I also bought a larger one. I'm not sure what size that one is. But I have all of these snaps in all of these different colors. So what I'm going to do is just pick one to go onto this wallet. And you know, I never hardly get to use some of the lighter color here. So maybe we'll do these color here. So I'm going to need 2 of these units, and then I'm going to need 1 male insert and 1 female. So this is 1, and I now need a male. It's on here, but it's not coming off. It's not coming off, so we're going to see if we can find another one right here. So this the male portion. It's going to be put up here at the top of the wallet, and then I'm going to put what's called the female down here at the bottom on this pocket. So it's going to go on your credit card pocket, and then this is going, the male part is going on your zipper pocket. So let me get situated here and I can show you. I'm going to need some kind of piercing tool. I'm also going to need my snap setter. So I'm going to take off my rubber band so I can use it. And then you might need a ruler so that you can measure, but I just kind of eyeball about a 1/2 inch up from the bottom in the center. And then I just put a little mark. So these are about 3.5 inches. So I'm just measuring with my ruler here. I mean, it's about 3, no. This wallet in width is about 4 3/4, somewhere in that neighborhood. So 4 I don't know, 5/8, somewhere in that neighborhood. So half of 4 is 2, and 5/8, I just go down another 3. So anywhere from 2 3/8 to 2.5. I'm just going to put my little piercer tool, which is what I've done. Whoops. So anywhere from like the center, I'm just going to put my little piercing tool right there. Okay, and I got a hole. So I'm going to put the large part of the snap on the inside of the pocket. I only done that to the front pocket. The back pocket does not have a hole. If you put both of these pockets together, you're not going to be able to slide in your credit cards in the front pocket. So now I'm just going to put this into the little hole that I just made. And you can make your hole bigger as well by sticking the screwdriver. It starts out tapered and then you can stick it in larger to get a larger hole. I did not do that. And then I'm going to take the female portion, which is this part here, and put down here on the pocket. So this is my piece here, and I'm just got it sitting there. And then I'm going to take my setter and I'm going to put the inside. This piece here is going to sit in here in this setter like so, and then I'm going to squeeze down, and that's going to make it lock together. So that's what I'm going to do next. You can't see what's happening inside, and my hands are in the way. So there we go. It's sitting in there, and all I do is just squeeze my handle and it sets that snap. And so you can see now how that prong, that was a pointy prong, has now been pushed, made flat, so it can't go back through the hole. And then this is the inside of how it's looking. Okay, so now that I've got that one, I just go up and close my wallet, see where it's sitting in here, and I just fold it back a little bit and just kind of put my prong right there. So that's where I want my prong to be. I'm going to hold it. I got my screwdriver here where my prong is, and now I'm going to push my screwdriver, my piercer, my hole piercer, not a screwdriver, but I'm pushing it through. This time I'm making that hole bigger. Alright, so my hole is here. I know you can't see it because it's dark green. I'm going to put my round piece on the inside again. Just depends on how your wallet or purse or pocket or wherever you're doing, how it's closing, on if you see it or not. So there we go with the pointy end coming out. I'm going to put the male part right here, and then again I'm going to put this setter in here and make sure that that bottom part is sitting in the setter. Do not press this if it's not sitting in the setter, because it's not going to work. So I know you can't see, but I'm trying to look in the bag to make sure everything's in the right position. I had it and then I moved it. Alright, here we go. Okay, here we go, here we go. Right here. It's in there right now. And I like to check it before I go pressing it all the way down. So I've got it in there. I'm going to press it down. And now it's ready. Alright, so this is how our wallet is looking now. So I'm just going to close my pocket. Its opening is for a right-handed person. If you're left-handed, you can turn your zipper around. And so this is now what we have left. I want to show you a side view of here of where I sewed this pocket closed right here by hand. And that just takes a little time. I just, take a few stitches at a time and then just make sure that I get it done. Now, everything is nice and done. And there is your wallet. So yay! Isn't it pretty? And I just have to add more snaps. I mean, put my snaps onto this one. I haven't put snaps onto here yet. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please let me know by thumbsing up the video. Also, leave me a comment and let me know if you like this particular wallet or not. Also, let me know if you've used the Atkinson wallet in the past or using it now. If you got any questions, also leave those down in the comment section. Bye for now.